Deep within a sprawling forest stood an old house home to the Thompson family. John, the father, was a pillar of strength, his wife Mary, a beacon of kindness. Their three children, Emily, Ethan, and little Lily, completed their lively family. Evenings were filled with board games by the fireplace and laughter echoing through the rooms. Yet beneath their idyllic life, a creeping unease began to stir. Strange sounds and shadows hinted at darker secrets within the forest. One stormy night, the family huddled together playing cards by the fire. The wind howled outside and the rain lashed against the windows, creating an eerie symphony that echoed through the house. Lily, however, sat by the window, her gaze lost in the darkness. She seemed entranced by the shadows that danced just beyond the tree line, her eyes wide with curiosity and a hint of fear. "Mary, Lily, darling, come closer to the fire." "Lily, Mummy, look, there's something out there." They all turned to see a grotesque silhouette with glowing red eyes. It stood motionless, its presence sending chills down their spines as if it were watching them intently. John dismissed it as a trick of the light, but unease had been planted. The family exchanged worried glances, each of them feeling a growing sense of dread. The nights that followed were punctuated by strange occurrences. Shadows seemed to move on their own, and the house creaked and groaned as if it were alive. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, objects moved inexplicably. The family could no longer ignore the unsettling events that plagued their home. Emily spoke of nightmares, Ethan of whispers calling his name. The children were terrified, their once peaceful nights now filled with fear and uncertainty. Lily, filled with fear, refused to be alone, clinging to her mother's side. Mary tried to comfort her, but the fear in her own heart was hard to hide. The forest, once a source of adventure, now felt like a watchful presence. The trees seemed to whisper secrets, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The family continued their routines, unaware of the lurking danger. They tried to maintain a sense of normalcy, but the shadows that loomed over them were impossible to ignore. As weeks passed, the whispers grew louder, the creatures more frequent. The once silent nights were now filled with unsettling sounds, making sleep a distant memory. No longer mere shadows, they appeared as grotesque parodies of humans. Their twisted forms seemed to mock the very essence of humanity, sending chills down the spine of anyone who dared to look. One night, John saw one of the creatures standing in the doorway. Its presence was undeniable, a dark silhouette that seemed to absorb all light around it. It was taller than any man, its skin stretched taut over its bones. "John, get back!" he shouted, his voice trembling with fear and desperation. The creature hesitated, then vanished into the shadows. It moved with an eerie grace, leaving behind an oppressive silence that weighed heavily on John's heart. John was left shaken, realizing the creatures were real and dangerous. His mind raced with thoughts of how to protect his family from these nightmarish beings. The family was no longer safe in their once happy home. The walls that once echoed with laughter now seemed to close in, filled with an ever-present sense of dread. The forest's secrets were darker than they could have imagined. Each rustle of leaves, each snap of a twig hinted at the unseen horrors lurking just beyond their sight. Their bond, once unbreakable, was now tested by the encroaching darkness. Fear gnawed at their trust, making every shadow a potential threat. The creatures watched, waiting for the right moment to strike. Their patience was unnerving, a constant reminder that the family was never truly alone. The family became prisoners in their own home. John boarded up the windows, reinforced the doors, and kept watch. Mary tried to maintain normalcy for the children, but the creatures were relentless. They scratched at the walls, peered through windows, and whispered threats. Their defenses crumbled, hope threatened to be extinguished entirely. Fear and desperation hung heavy in the air, a palpable tension that seemed to thicken with each passing moment. John stood guard at the top of the stairs, an axe in his hands, his knuckles white from the tight grip. He knew what was coming and he was ready to face it. The creatures outside grew bolder, their attacks more frequent and more ferocious. The walls seemed to tremble with each impact. "John, we fight with everything we've got." His voice was a rallying cry, a desperate plea for courage in the face of overwhelming odds. A deafening crash echoed as the creatures broke through the door, splintering wood flying in all directions. John charged down the stairs, his axe finding its mark with a sickening thud. Each swing was a testament to his resolve. He fought with the strength of a man possessed, driven by love for his family, his eyes burning with determination. But the creatures were too many, their strength too great, their numbers overwhelming. John fell to his knees, his vision blurring as the creatures turned to his family. His heart ached with the fear of losing them. The family's last stand was a desperate fight for survival, a chaotic struggle against the encroaching darkness. They fought with every ounce of strength they had left. John braced himself for the final blow, but it never came. Instead, he heard laughter. The creatures were gone. Standing before him were his children, covered in paint. "Ethan, gotcha, Dad. We really scared you, didn't we? John, what is this? Where are the creatures, Mary?" There were no creatures, John. It was all just a game. John's mind reeled, struggling to reconcile the events. Had he imagined it all? Was he going mad? Or was there something more sinister at play, twisting his reality? The truth remained elusive, leaving John trapped in a nightmare far more terrifying than any creature he could have imagined.